So starting off on day one, looking back at my first few attempts, I definitely struggled with this. I think the main challenge for me was my flexibility. I definitely overlooked how flexible you need to be able to do this move. And I would say as a minimum, you need to be able to touch your toes comfortably. Now for me, I could touch my toes, but it definitely wasn't comfortable. And the reason you need to be flexible with this move is that it requires a lot of compression. Because you're starting off with your hands flat on the floor, you're drawing your feet in towards your hands, and then you're stacking your hips on top of your shoulders, and then using your strength and balance to push up into a handstand. But if you can't touch your toes comfortably, you're going to find it really difficult to be able to do this. The other risk is if you lack the flexibility, you'll probably find yourself leaning too far forward. And if you do that too much, well, here's what happens. So over the next few days, I stretched my hamstrings and hips every single morning, and it made a massive difference. So here we are on day 2, and after practicing a few compressions, I decided to practice some handstands. Now, if there's one thing I've learned about handstanding on the grass, make sure that you check there's no bird poo on the floor before you do it. Now I'm going to have to look back at the footage, but I actually think those were a couple of my best attempts yet. And I don't think this is going to take me too much longer before I get this. I can't believe though how much harder it is to do it on the parallettes. I actually find balancing a handstand is easier on the parallettes, but just the part where you have to compress and pull your legs up, like that sort of transition point is really difficult on the parallettes compared to the floor. I guess it's all to do with hand placement and how much sort of surface area you cover with your hands. But yeah, it's surprisingly a lot more difficult on the parallettes for me. So it's Monday now. I reckon by the weekend we might have nailed this. On day 6, I definitely started to see some progress. I was feeling a lot more comfortable in the forward fold and started to find the right technique to push up into the handstand. One thing that I forgot to mention at the start of this video is that there are actually quite a few variations of the press to handstand. Initially I was aiming to do the pike press to handstand where my feet are starting off like that, and then I realised after a couple of attempts that that's actually a little bit more advanced and not quite an entry level variation to this move. So I'm going to be aiming to do the straddle press to handstand, or at least that's what I think it's called, where my feet are going to be starting off like that. And yeah, I find it's definitely a lot more forgiving than the other moves. It's more forgiving because I find you don't have to be quite as flexible because you're not compressing quite as much. So right now it's Tuesday. Like I said yesterday, I want to be able to do this by the weekend. So I've got another 3 days to make some small adjustments and try and nail this by Saturday. On day 7, I was feeling more motivated than ever. I even decided to get the guns out. And I don't know if it was just because I was feeling good or what I ate for breakfast, but this happened.
17 seconds. Now, as I said at the start of this video, my goal was to just hit 15 seconds, and I exceeded that by 2 seconds, so I was pretty proud. Now, I'm not going to excuse the form. I know it wasn't great. However, it has only been 7 days since I started this, so I don't think that's too bad. So whilst I was really happy that I accomplished what I set out to do, being a perfectionist, I wanted to make this even better, and I spent the next couple of days trying to improve my form. Although I was able to neaten things up a little bit, I never made any significant improvements in the press to handstand. And I also wasn't able to beat my initial 17-second hold. But you know what, that's okay, because I have officially accomplished what I set out to achieve, and I would class this challenge as a pass. And that is all for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed this little challenge of mine. Stay tuned, because I will be putting out some more challenges very soon. So if you did enjoy it, please drop a like. Of course, if you want to support the journey, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.